Everybody, Madison here with Health by Ratio, and in this video, we're going to talk about how to do some mobility techniques and stretches, as well as a couple of exercises that are key to helping our knees feel as good as possible around the potential long travel, maybe flights, car rides we're going to be experiencing around these holidays. So that is what I want to cover in this video, a couple of key techniques for that. But if you don't know who I am and what my team and I do, Health by Ratio consists of licensed physical therapists, orthopedic movement specialists, functional health coaches, and we work as a team to holistically create programs for our clients that take them out of chronic recurring pains and injuries and move them not just through their rehabilitation process so they can heal well and feel better, but then progress them toward whatever activities, fitness, athletics, whatever that they are passionate about. So some of our clients, that's actual athletics and sports. Some of our clients just love exercise. Some people just want to be able to roll around with the dog and roll around with the dog in the yard or keep up with the grandkids. It's whatever's relative to them, but we want to make sure that they have control over their own health throughout their daily lives and get back to the activities that they love the most while feeling good doing so. And obviously, part of our lives that needs to occur is we got to travel. We got to see some family, some friends. We want to get on vacation, whatever, and that involves longer car rides, longer flights, and we get into these tight positions that can cause so much tension around the knees. For me personally, and my knee injuries that I was dealing with, sometimes just sitting for long periods of time, I would get this chronic pain that would just ache around my kneecaps the whole car ride. It just drive me nuts, or on a plane ride, but especially the days after. So once we got there, the next 24 hours, I felt so stiff around my knees. I often attributed that just to well, they swelled up around the flight, or I just thought that they got stiff in the car ride or whatever. What I didn't realize was that I could actually offset this stuff. There was things that I could do for 5 or 10 minutes that made a huge difference in how they felt. So that's what I want to cover here. Now, with regards to this protocol, we can do this before and after if we want, but I would say it's even more important to do after we get to our destination. It doesn't take much. We can use either a foam roller, we can use a trigger point ball like a lacrosse ball or a baseball or a tennis ball could work. I'm going to be using my peanut here, which is like 2 lacrosse balls connected together. But you could do this with a couple of put a couple of lacrosse balls or tennis balls in a sock or tape them up kind of thing. That can create the same thing. But there's a variety of different tools. We can even use a water bottle for what I'm going to show today. So the first thing that I want to have us understand is that when we sit for a long period of time, especially in a car, especially in an airplane, the hip flexors themselves start to get really tight. And this position ends up, if we have really tight quads, which many of us with a history of knee injuries have really overactive quads, really tight, gunky quads that have occurred. We do need some strength back into these quads if we're coming off of a surgery, but they're often very, very, very overdominant. And often we need more glute strength to counterbalance this tightness than just quad strength. We covered some great techniques and exercises for knee stability through the glutes that also strengthen the quads in functional ways in some of our other videos. If you guys want to check those out, those are different topics. Feel free to either comment in the comments below the video, and we'll tag you in the other videos, or just feel free to scroll through our feed and you'll see a couple of those more knee stability exercise videos. But the quads themselves get really tight, and sitting like this, they will pull upwards on the kneecap. It can create tension to the patella tendon and around the kneecap, as well as the ACL. If we have some meniscus stuff going on, it can irritate that. All those things contribute. Now, if we're driving, the other thing that can aggravate it is having that foot turn out toward the gas pedal for long periods of time. That externally rotates the hip. That can put some torque on the knee. Doesn't really like it. So a simple fix is, this might feel weird, but get your heel in alignment with your foot, so that you're driving this way as opposed to this way. It will actually make your knee a lot happier. But the other thing that's a big deal is bucket seats, especially in the cars that we drive. Bucket seats are brutal for the hips, and they pull up and tighten the knee, and especially in the days following, with that tightness in the hips, it puts more tension on the knee. So bucket seats are the thing where we have the knee higher than the butt. So the butt is sunken down below the knee level. that can be really brutal. So what we can do to offset that is if you have a seat that raises up that butt, use it and get yourself at least level at your car seat. If you don't, get a towel, fold it up so that it sits right underneath your butt and bolster up that butt so you're not so sunken down into it. That goes a really long way. And avoiding that hip tightness that compresses, it actually can irritate like sciatic nerve and lower back and all that kind of stuff too. So it helps on that end. But it saves our knees in the long run too. And then when we are finished driving, or like I said, you can do this before too, we want to be proactive about massaging out these quads, especially this little pocket right above the knee, called the suprapatellar pouch. So this area right above the kneecap, we want to mobilize that guy. We want to do some hip flexor stretching and quad stretching as well, because those guys are what tighten up. And if they end up getting so tight over the coming days when I'm walking and moving around, it's going to cause me to get pulled into positions where my glutes aren't going to fire very well, and I'm going to put all this extra torque on my knees as I'm moving. So how we can do this is we take out, like I said, either a foam roller, a water bottle, or a couple of trigger point balls of some kind, and we're going to place this underneath our knee as we lay down on our stomach. So we're going to place this guy directly above that kneecap. And I'm going to explore around. I might find a hot spot right away, but I'm going to explore around a little bit. I might have to turn my foot out to the side a little and have this thing be more on the inside of my thigh. I might need to turn the foot the other direction and try to work more the outside edge of the knee. I'm not on the IT band specifically. I'm more like the lateral 45-degree corner of the quad right now. Or I might need, if I don't have any gunk there, which most of us will, I can inch my way up, or well, in this case, I'm scooting down, but it's inching the ball up my thigh, and I can find any other hot spots that need. Once I find something that hurts so good, that like 7 out of 10 on the Richter scale, I'm going to get comfortable. I'm just going to relax here. And I'm going to start breathing through my belly, because if I get some nice deep diaphragmatic breathing, that's going to relax my nervous system a little bit. So nice deep belly breaths. Then, after about 20 seconds of that, I'm going to start doing some contractions, relaxations, and movements to pump blood to the area and trick this thing into rehydrating the tissue and to mobilize a little bit. So I'm not just going to lay on this thing and pray the pain goes away. I'm going to be proactive. I'm going to give myself my own version of a deep tissue sports massage. So I'm going to take a nice deep breath in. I'm going to tighten the leg by just straightening out the knee and kind of pushing my toes into the ground. That's going to tighten the quad. I'm not going to push as hard into that ball while I'm doing this. And then I'm going to exhale. Now I'm going to relax the quad and I'm going to push back onto the ball. And I'm going to bend that knee and extend it. I'm going to potentially bend it and move it out to one side and move it across the body the other side and then extend it. I might roll up and down a little bit by just kind of shifting my hip up and down. I can saw side to side into the area. There really isn't a right or wrong. I'm trying to get kind of a variety of movements into the area to get blood flow to it, to break down some of this gunky tissue. Then I'm going to rinse and repeat. Do it again. Deep breath. Tighten the area. 5 seconds. And exhale. Relax into it. Start moving. Go into your variety of different positions. Massage into that guy. And we're going to keep doing this until this area releases. It might release within a minute. It might take us 5 minutes. Somewhere in between. Doesn't matter. We're going to commit to taking this thing from that hurt so good, 7 out of 10 on the Richter scale of pain, down to like 3 out of 10. A 2 out of 10, maybe a 5 out of 10. Maybe it's still pretty prevalent. It's just not as intense. Whatever. We want to feel some kind of adjustment where it's not as painful. That means that we relax tension out of there. Beautiful. Now, obviously, we're going to do this to both sides, not just the pain, the injured knee or whatever. We want to do this to both sides, make some even, get her symmetrical. Now, the non-pain side, you might not have to, like if my left knee is the problem child, my right knee is not, I might not have to spend as much time on the right leg to get that release, but I'm still going to do this to both sides. Like I said, if you don't have the lacrosse ball, you can do this with a foam roller, or you can position like a water bottle, or hey, a wine bottle. We got plenty of wine around for Thanksgiving and stuff like that and the holidays, so you can use a wine bottle. Now, after I finish that release, I'm going to go into a nice quad stretch. Now, there's a variety of ways to do this, but probably the most gentle way is we're laying on our stomach still, And I'm going to just bend the knee. If I can grab this with my own hand and pull that towards my butt, great. If that's too intense, wrap a towel around there and gently pull yourself with that towel to whatever you can comfortably tolerate. And once we're there, I'm going to think about deep belly breathing, and I'm also going to squeeze the butt of the leg I'm stretching. So while I'm here, I'm going to try to clench my left butt cheek and then relax it, and then clench my left butt cheek and relax it. It's actually going to make me feel like I'm getting just a little bit more of an intense quad stretch as I do that. Ah, beautiful. Okay. So now I've opened up that quad from massaging it, and I've opened up that quad with a nice stretch. Now, the final thing is I want to complement this by stretching out my hip flexors. Now, if you're in a place where you can actually take a knee, awesome. Or you can kneel down like up on a couch maybe with your knee elevated here on a bed or a couch, something along those lines, awesome. Otherwise, you can do this standing. But how we do this if we're kneeling on a couch or kneeling on the ground is, I'll do it to this side, is that we get ourselves with the back leg straight, and we're going to squeeze the glute of whatever knee is down. So we're going to squeeze that butt cheek. Then we're going to inch ourselves forward just a couple inches until we feel a stretch come into the front of that hip flexor the whole time my glute is squeezed. Otherwise, I'm going to be able to overextend this, and I don't want to do that. I want to squeeze the glute and just move a couple inches. Then, whatever leg I'm stretching, I'm going to bring that arm straight up into the air, and then I can pivot towards the front leg or lean a little bit towards the front leg, and that'll increase the stretch even more so. I can play around with that a little bit, but that's going to pull open the hip flexor that's now locked up from all that sitting that I did. It's going to save my back, but it's also going to help us wake back up the glutes so that we're getting the right support from that knee in the coming days. Now, if you're doing this standing, same idea. You're just in a staggered stance here. And when we're in this position, we want to make sure that this back foot is straight. We don't want it turned out to the side at all. And then we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to squeeze this glute of the leg that's behind me. I'm going to move my hips forward just a couple inches until I feel that stretch in the hip flexor. And then I can do the same thing, bring the arm up, pivoting towards the front leg or leaning a little bit towards that side. But that's how I can get a standing version of that hip flexor. Now, last but not least, I've now mobilized. I massaged out my quads. That's going to help me feel nice and good there. I now stretched out my quads. I've now stretched out my hip flexors. The thing that I want to really make sure that I do is wake up my glutes. I got to actually activate them after being seated and shut off in this position. There's a lot of ways we can do this. If we have proper squat technique, lunge technique, hip hinge technique, those are all great. But a real safe way of doing it is just some glute bridges. We can lay down onto our back. We can have our heels into the ground. We're going to squeeze the glutes from the get-go and just push those heels down into the ground and then come up here. And after a long car ride, I like to hang out here for a little bit. So I hang out up here. I focus on really clenching my glutes the whole time and just wake them up. I might pick one heel up for a second, set it down. Pick one heel up, set it down. Like go back and forth a couple of times and get even more activation to one side and the other, but wanting to keep the hips level. Or I could just hold this and then I'll go in and out of that a handful of times and just hold this for 5-10 seconds at a time and really fire up those glutes, get them to burn up a little bit. And that's going to help support that knee on the functional side in the coming days. But again, if you're able to do squats, lunges, and hip hinges safely and correctly, that's even more effective. That's going to really translate to how we move much more in the coming days. So guys, this is a protocol to bust out for some quick knee health. There's obviously some other things that we can be doing around the ankles and around the hamstrings and the calves. Also, even some other stuff that we can do up at the hips that make a difference. But I would say these in general are the low-hanging fruits that we can implement. If you have any questions, comments, all that good stuff, feel free to write them below. If you want to see any videos on how to activate those glutes in some more functional ways and that kind of stuff, we'd be happy to share again, just right below in the comments of the video. And outside of that, hope you have a wonderful holiday season. Talk soon.